We'll discuss both Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and more on today's show. But both of these guys are available, one via trade, one via free agency. If you had to pick a quarterback for just 1 year, right now, this year, who is the better QB? AR for Aaron Rodgers or KC for Kirk Cousins? More here on Rodgers. The Steelers seem at least somewhat confident that they will be able to sign Rodgers this offseason. Steelers owner Art Rooney had this to say, quote, "We keep hearing that he's headed in our direction, and it seems to be all signs are positive so far." Look, Rodgers also had the private workout, whatever, with DK Metcalf, probably testing how they do on back shoulder fade since Rodgers loves that throw. But we're also at the point where, like, okay, it is decision time here, A-Rod. The draft is approaching. Off-season workouts are also just a couple of weeks away. Both of those begin in April. Would Rodgers go to off-season workouts? It's Rodgers. Probably not. But regardless, like, you need to have a plan in place. You can't get to the draft and not know what your quarterback... The Steelers can say all they want that, oh, we're confident in Mason Rudolph being the starter. No, you're not. You let him leave once already, and you paid him backup money. You don't believe he's a starting caliber quarterback. That's just posturing, which is fine, by the way. That is also what the Steelers ownership said in terms of the decision timeline needing to be coming soon. Said, we can wait a little bit, but you can't wait forever. What the Steelers' internal cutoff date is, I don't know. Maybe they don't have one necessarily either, but they don't want to keep sitting around here into deep April, into the draft going, like, you don't want to go into the draft with Skylar Thompson and Mason Rudolph as your under contract quarterbacks and picking 20 in the early 20s with no second round pick. That's not a plan, or at least not a good plan. So at some point soon, in theory, this saga is over, which I know is maybe not fun for everybody. What do you think in the end is the percent chance the Steelers end up signing Aaron Rodgers? It is the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Let's move to Kirk Cousins. The Kirk Cousins trade scenario, idea, rumors, whatever you want to call it, is still very much alive. And I think in particular the Browns, as we'll get into, stand out as a key point. At NFL owners' meetings, the coaches have their little breakfast sit-down with media. Here's what Raheem Morris had to say when asked about Kirk Cousins and a trade. He says there's definitely a human side when you want to see him go out and be the best version of himself. It's not a thing where we're holding you back if the opportunity presents itself. If it's something that's good for both of us, it's good for the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, we certainly would like to see that happen. That's fair. The team owes it to themselves first, right? Now, Diana Rossini has specifically mentioned the Browns as a fit. And I think she's right to do so. Yeah, I made the comments about the Steelers not having a real plan at quarterback. The Browns don't have a plan at quarterback either. They got injured Deshaun Watson, who the ownership has said, yeah, we messed up on. The first real public admission of such, by the way. And Kenny Pickett, who's not the guy. He's not the answer, I promise you. He's not. No. We don't have to pretend about that. And the Browns probably, I don't think, are pretending really either there. So there's no real quarterback in place. And Kirk Cousins, we know for a fact, fits the Kevin Stefanski offense since he ran it in Minnesota. With some success, mind you. There's some more on this to come. But do you think the Browns will end up trading for Kirk Cousins? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Now, first up, I want to discuss the contract because this is the big issue. We'll spend some time on it because it's kind of complicated. Right now, the Falcons are paying Kirk Cousins $40 million on the salary cap. It's a huge figure, right? The 2025 cash that is owed, because there's signing bonus stuff that counts on the cap hit, is 27.5, which is what the Browns would pay Kirk Cousins in the event that they traded for him. Now, the 2026 cash is $45 million, $10 million of which is already guaranteed. So if the Browns wanted to, it could be a one-year rental at $37.5 million, which seems really highly unlikely. The Falcons would save 2.5 right now with the trade of the full contract, 27.5 if they waited until after June 1st. Of note, you cannot designate a trade as a post-June 1st trade the same way you can a release or a cut. So the real question then becomes, Browns are not trading for Kirk Cousins' contract as is. It makes no sense. How much money are the Falcons willing to eat? Minimum, probably the $10 million guaranteed in 2020, but also more than that. And at that point, you're kind of not getting into salary cap savings unless you wanted to wait until June, but that again impacts your off-season workout timing, so it's complicated. For a player that wasn't that great coming off the injury in 2024. He had issues. He got benched for Michael Penix. The Falcons were right to do that. So that's what makes things tricky for Kirk Cousins. He wants to start. The Browns are an obvious fit. Kirk's not going to take less money. That defeats the purpose of all of this. How much are the Falcons willing to eat? And what draft pick are the Browns willing to give for the Falcons to eat some of that money? Because to an extent, it's getting money off the books for Atlanta and cash off the books, which matters. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. We got basketball still ongoing for another weekend and a day, basically. We've got tons of extra coverage for you on that, and Prize Picks has you covered, too. You can do not just basketball or football. Baseball also available. Long list of options, strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs. Prize Picks has you covered. So go download the app today at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. The link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Let's move to contract talk. Micah Parsons next, first Brock Purdy. The Niners continue to indicate that they feel confident they will get a deal done with Brock Purdy. What that deal looks like, that's the $100 million question. Here's what John Lynch, Niners GM, said on Purdy. Brock wants to be with us. We want Brock to be with us. When that's the case, these things typically get done. And does it happen this offseason? I don't know. Hopefully it happens real soon this offseason. I think we're going to get the deal done. That's what I believe, so we'll just leave it at that. Purdy will likely become one of the highest paid QBs in the NFL. Right now, the number one from a per-year perspective is Dak Prescott. In a variety of ways, the top 2 deals you can kind of tear up. The Dak Prescott deal, he was weeks away, months away from free agency. He had unprecedented leverage that Brock Purdy does not have with the 49ers. It's probably not a fair comparison deal. Josh Allen got $55 million per year and $250 million per year, but he was on a massive contract and was like 4 years away and had 4 years left on his contract. It's also kind of unprecedented, just on the opposite side. So from the guaranteed money perspective and from the average per year perspective at 60 and 250 reverse respectively, you can almost kind of ignore those. And that kind of brings us to one deal in particular that I would think Purdy's camp would try to argue in favor of. Before we get to that, what is the most you'd pay Brock Purdy per year? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Now, Trevor Lawrence has recently been paid. He got a 5-year, $275, that's $55 million per year deal with $20 million guaranteed. Ignoring where they were drafted, there's really nothing from a results perspective. The situations are admittedly very different, but there's nothing from a results perspective that you can say Trevor Lawrence has done better than Brock Purdy. There's not more team success. There's not more individual success. It's the Jags versus the 49ers, absolutely. But if I were Purdy's agent, I'd be going, why would we take less than Trevor Lawrence? The man's done nothing in his NFL career. Now, if you want to adjust for the 9%-ish, I'm rounding, salary cap inflation, you suddenly get to 5 years, $300 million, that's $60 million per year, with $218 guaranteed. I think that is the absolute max Purdy would be able to essentially request from the 49ers, and he probably doesn't get that. But I think somewhere in that $50+ million per year range, that's just what the going rate is for contracts at quarterback these days. That's the salary cap keeps jumping up by like 8% every year. That adds up quickly. Now, we will have more NFL news and rumors and draft coverage here for you on the channel. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Now, if you didn't already know, I also run our Cowboys Report channel here at Chat Sports. And we have to mention the Micah Parsons situation, since that's going to be like the #1 ESPN story tomorrow morning. You can book it. Clarence Hill reports the Cowboys have offered a record contract to Micah Parsons, that Micah and Jerry are in mostly agreement, and then Jerry comes out today and says, I don't know who Micah's agent is, and it gets all messy, and they haven't agreed to a deal. Here's what you need to know. Let me sum this up briefly. The Jones boys, Jerry and Steven, and Micah have had contract talks, and they've had offers. They've discussed what the general parameters are, but not with the agent. That's David Mulgeta, who always wins negotiations. And until the Jones boys and Mulgeta actually talk contract, then there's not going to be a deal, as Micah himself said on social media today. To recap the timeline here, first off, this is all now public. It all happened weeks ago. Mike and Jerry met in particular on March 18th at the Star. That was reported by WFAA. Contract offers have happened, but kind of like the non-committable scholarship, it's not really a scholarship offer because you haven't talked with the agent. Everyone knows what the general parameters are of the deal here, but the most important other person here beyond Mike and Jerry is the agent, and neither side has called each other. So they haven't had the negotiations on that front there. This kind of becomes the if a tree falls in the forest thing. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? If a contract offer is made, but the agent isn't involved, well, then one was actually made or no? Or is that just talking? Are they talking, dating, getting married, engaged? Like, what's the relationship? Which is nonsense, because this deal is actually not that hard. It'll be 5 years. Mike is down with 5 years. The Cowboys love 5 years. It'll be 5 years. It'll be record-setting in terms of the average per year. It'll be at least 40.5. Maybe it jumps to 42.5 because they're adding the additional year and they can backload the contract. The guaranteed money, it's going to be a record. It's 125. It wants to stay on the same rate as Myles Garrett with a 5-year deal. It's 165. It's a $200 million deal. It's not that hard of a contract. It's just how things always somehow seem to go when it comes to negotiations. And for whatever reason, the Cowboys have now taken an antagonistic approach, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.